Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. Yet again, Barcelona with a 1-0 win. I mean, it's finished Athletic Club nil, Barcelona 1. I mean, I had this question about Manchester City as well, but I'll ask it for Barcelona. What has happened to Barcelona? I mean, from the club that used to have this progressive, attacking style of play. Yes, it was tedious at times, but at its glorious best, it was, relentless at pressing and relentless attacking football to what we see today and what I've seen this season. It's really parked the bus and counter in some ways, isn't it? I mean, it feels that way. They play a high line when they defend, but slowly, but you'll notice as the game progresses, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. At one point, there were 7 or 8 players in the box. When was the last time you ever saw that for Barcelona before this season? It's I don't want to say it's anti-football. I don't want to say it's anti-Barcelona because that's all, whatever. That's opinions. I'm not saying that it's wrong. What I'm saying is it's interesting to note how Barcelona has changed over the last few months, and yet nobody calls it out because they keep winning. But the fact is that today there were so many moments, especially in that second half, where it was just hoof the ball forward, it goes to Lewandowski, it goes to Raphinha, somebody tries to counter, whatever. It's almost the very things that they used to rail against, when Xavi used to rail against Inter Milan for, if you remember, not too long ago, 10 years ago. So it's very interesting to see that. That's of course one thing. The title thing, the title, what it says what it says, and I do feel. I mean, VAR did bail Barcelona out twice today. So first the goal from Raphinha, it's a well worked goal because I mean the cross is not that great, but when it comes out to Busquets, that sprayed pass is so good. He actually takes a bit. I actually thought, okay, it's a good pass, but what he actually does is he takes one of the defenders out as well. If you notice, he feints it from the left and to the right. That takes that defender out. And what it means is that now he has a clear path towards putting it to Raphinha. Otherwise, he doesn't have that clear path. So he makes that space for himself. It's a good pass to Raphinha. Could the goalkeeper have done better to save it? Yes and no. I mean, it's quite well placed, but you do expect sometimes, and he is a young goalkeeper, so you can't really blame him too much. But you do feel that maybe he could have done more, maybe he could have anticipated it better, maybe. But because the angle is quite acute, so he's not got a lot of the goal to aim at, and so therefore you feel like, yes, okay, so if he's not got a lot to aim at, you've got to kind of cover the angles. But I think he could have done more. But you can't maybe be too harsh. It was a good finish from Raphinha, it really was, and I mean, it was given offside. But then VAR comes to rescue. It wasn't offside. It wasn't offside. It was the right decision. That was the right decision. And it's 1-0. And you're thinking Barcelona are going to win this from here. Guess what? Athletic Bilbao were the better team in the first half. They were, and they created a lot of chances. I believe they hit the bar as well in the first half. I looked, at first it was like, okay, it's 50-50. But actually, when I looked at the highlights, I thought, yeah, you know what? Athletic have given it a good go. The problem is goal scoring. Athletic don't have a natural goal scorer in their side, and that's the problem. But they lack that little bit of creativity, which is why they are where they are in the league. But they troubled Barcelona. They did, and you could see it in Barcelona's play in the second half. They were trying to control possession. They weren't really doing too much with it. I think the plan was really just to hold on to the ball. When that failed, they would start dropping deep and do park the bus and counter. So it was kind of negative. It was a bit negative, if you want to put it that way. But the plan really, I think probably from the 60th minute was really 1-0. They had a good 15 minutes phase where they troubled Athletic and they could have got that second goal and killed the game off, but they didn't. And after that, it really was about just nullifying Athletic rather than trying to go for the kill. And you could see that in the way that they played. They were playing for a 1-0 and it almost backfired. We'll talk about the decision, but here's the thing. So Frenkie de Jong loses the ball. It falls to it's then a brilliant overhead pass. That pass is so good, and the run is very good because it's so easy to get caught offside from that sort of run. But what Williams does is, and it's anticipation, isn't it? The pass isn't played towards Williams; it's played in front of Williams. But Williams knows that he could be offside trying to get. So what he does is he runs past the defender. He goes around the defender rather than through. That's the pace that he shows is so good. And Marcos Alonso really makes a mess of it because he's got to drop deep so that he's trying to play offside, but he's got to drop deep because Williams is running from his own area. So he gets caught out. It was a brilliant run. It's a great finish, and that should have been a goal. That would have been one of the better goals I've seen. But it was ruled out because of handball. Was it handball? For me, it wasn't. And the reason why it wasn't is simple because Frenkie de Jong is the one who's kicking the ball. He's kicking the ball, and his hand is because Munian isn't watching the ball. He's turned his back around, so he doesn't know where it is. And Frenkie de Jong kicks his hand, so his hand. Basically what happens when a player is kicking you, you don't just go, oh, I'm going to curb it. No, you try to protect yourself. So he's moved his hand out to protect himself, and then it hits him on the arm because if Frenkie de Jong's leg doesn't come up, I don't think Munian's hand goes up either. And they didn't look at that. They just go and took the hand. And the commentators, I mean, do commentators actually know the rules? Because the commentator on the feed that I was watching was like, oh, well, if it hits the hand, then it's got to be ruled out. No, that's not the rule. The rule is that the only reason why VAR would disallow a goal for handball is if it's handball by the goal scorer. If it's unintentional handball by anybody else in the build up to the goal, it doesn't have to be disallowed. I don't know where the commentators get their rule books from, and I don't know where they get the information from. But God, that's such a big mistake to make, in the commentary of the game. And many people will now take that as fact, but it's not fact. The reality is that's not the rule. That was changed. That was the rule before, but it has been changed in the last couple of years. Now it doesn't matter if it can be unintentional handball, which was happened to Manchester United with the Betis goal on Thursday. It was ruled as unintentional handball, which is why they let the goal stand. Of course, that wasn't. But in this case, it was unintentional because he's not looking at the ball. His back is turned. The only reason his arm is up is because De Jong is got his leg up, trying to tackle him. It doesn't have any material impact on where the ball goes, because even without his hand, because De Jong is basically losing the ball either way. That the reason why he does that leg thing is because he knows he's lost the ball. He knows he's put in a bad touch. It should have stood. And in a week where we are talking about Barcelona paying off refs, making payments, they're under investigation, this is only going to fuel that fire. And I'm not for one second saying that the refs are corrupt or that this was an orchestrated plan, but the reality is it's not going to help Barcelona's case when things like this happen, because that goal should have stood. I don't know what the VAR saw, and it's the second time today we're talking about the refs again, right? I mean, we talked about it earlier with Manchester United. We're talking about that now. But yeah, that was the wrong decision. The goal should have stood for me anyway. Let me know in the comments if you think differently, but I thought the goal should have stood. But you know what, Barcelona, they've got Clásico next week, and you know what, based on what I've seen today, I don't think they're going to play any different. I think they're again going to go the same negative route that they went in at the Bernabeu. I think they're going to try the same thing again. They're going to try to be defensive. They're going to try to nick that goal and then try and park the bus and counter. I think they're going to do that. They've been very successful at it. I don't see why they should change it. I don't think they should change it, because if they try to change it now, they could get caught out. I think they tried to go toe-to-toe with Manchester United and they found out that they couldn't do it. So I don't think the scheme team can do it. It's just funny to think that the Barcelona team can't play possession and high pressing football. But I think that's where we are. I think they will go park the bus and counter. So don't expect a great encounter in that one. But I mean, it is something to see. From Barcelona. In terms of games, I thought Ferran Torres was bad once again. He really didn't have a good game, and he'll be one of the first players that they'll be looking to sell. Let's just be honest, he'll be one of the first players that they're going to need to raise a lot of money this summer. I think that he's going to be one of the first players to be sold. The question is, how much can they get for him, and who will want to buy him? But he's going to be one of the first names on that transfer list for sure. He had a horrible game. I don't think Frank Kessie had a good game either. When he came on, he didn't look that great either. Maybe he needs to be starting rather than coming off the bench, but he didn't look that good either. And Pablo Gavi, I've just got to say, Gavi's got to be careful with how he plays, because he's a phenomenal talent. I like watching him, and I like his tenacity. And I do think that people sometimes mistake tenacity for annoyance, but actually I like his tenacity. But he's got to be careful with what he's doing, because every time he goes, because the thing is, there were a couple of fouls that could have been given, but because he goes and talks to the ref and then he starts chirping away, the refs kind of go away. Yeah, you know what? This guy is being a prat. And the 50-50 fouls start going against you, which is what happens with Gavi. It didn't affect them in today's game, but in a close, tight game, those kind of decisions can make a big difference. So you've got to be careful when you do that. And I think somebody's got to take him aside and got to say, listen, it's okay that you're tenacious. It's okay that you've got that edge to your game, but keep it on the football field. Don't say it. Like don't start talking to the refs. Show it on the field. I think that's what they've got. You don't want to kill off that tenacity, and you don't want to kill off that aggression. But what you don't want to do is you want it to be directed at the opposition. You don't want it to in the right way, of course. You don't want it to be directed at the refs, because then that just creates problems. So that's something there as well to talk about. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, what can you say? Barcelona 9 points clear again. They'll win the title regardless of what happens against Real Madrid. They will win the league, because it looks like everything is going their way at the moment. So I don't think the result at the Clásico will have any bearing on the season, aside from personal pride. And obviously Barcelona will not want to lose to Real Madrid. If they beat Madrid, then the title is done anyway. I mean, not that done anyway, but I think the title will, then they can start celebrating, is what I mean for the title. Right now, I think there's probably a little bit of doubt, but I still think they will win the title regardless of what happens against Real Madrid. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment. The Barcelona haven't been great, but then Madrid haven't been that great either, and that's why La Liga this season hasn't been up to the standards that it normally is. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash a like if you enjoyed the game. It was quite entertaining. The controversies aside, was quite entertaining, and I like watching it. But do share your thoughts as well. Smash like for the game. Smash like if you're a Barcelona fan and you enjoyed the win. Smash like for Barcelona winning. And do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We've had a lot of videos this weekend. I hope you've enjoyed them. You may not have agreed with them, but I hope you've enjoyed them. And we'll be back again with more, of course, in this coming week. So subscribe so you can go and get notified as videos drop. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.